Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the regular Council on Future Conflicts is now back. We are now off of single topic reporting like we've been doing since Friday. And we are back, episode 566. We're talking about China's illicit islands and the Red Menace. Sometimes some may say those are one and the same. But in point of fact, the Red Menace is we're going to be talking about is not like a foreign threat, though it could be. We just haven't got that far down the rabbit hole yet. But we're talking about the neo-Marxist threat that is become apparent to everybody now based on what happened last week. We want to move beyond the Charlie Kirk specific stuff and really kind of dig into the information that we've learned about the neo-Marxist cells. Some of it's related to the kind of more niche trans-Tifa stuff, but we want to kind of broaden the spectrum and look at the broad range of neo-Marxists. So, for instance, Antifa broadly has nothing directly to do with the trans movement, right? That's just a small niche of that. Something that my friend Joe here reminded us of. And if you're giving him shit about that, you need to check yourself. Because, Joe, I think you're right on the money with that. It's the Marxist left that want to kill us. They wear different uniforms, but they all want to kill us, no matter what uniform they wear. The trans uniform is just one flag of hundreds that they fly. So I think it's important for us to kind of open the spectrum, because you never know. It could just be a regular Antifa guy that kills somebody next time, and he doesn't have anything to do with the whole trans movement, right?
Or worse, just a regular looking leftist.
A regular looking guy who doesn't have any direct affiliation with some of this stuff. He could have just been radicalized because he got fired from his donut, donut and coffee job at Dunkin' Donuts, right? Because he made fun of Charlie Kirk or whatever on the internet, gets fired, and then decides, you take my job, I'll take your life, and that's how we lose another influencer or a politician, or God forbid, somebody like Donald Trump, who has been, these are the same people who tried to kill Donald Trump twice. We think. We don't know about Butler yet. There's still a lot of fucking questions about that one. But anyway, so that's the threat we're going to be focusing on today. It is a domestic threat, but still it is a threat nonetheless. And it's one that we will likely, another great point is that, I want to get away from some of the kind of the temporal politics of the issue and focus on the politics that were there last year. They're here this year, and they'll be there next year. And those are the politics of destruction, death, and direct action. The 3Ds, I like to say. All right, that's what the show's about today. Joe, how are you doing today, brother?
Well, I'm doing good, and I already shared the show, so we are in great shape today. I am on the ball. Listen, people misunderstood me when I said that. Legitimately, you need to worry about the entire left. Yeah. You have to stop thinking it's only the trans. But I get where that thinking comes from. It absolves people of responsibility. If they say, well, it's only the trans people, and I don't have any trans people around me, so I'm okay. And that's just not true. It's the neighbor 3 doors down who calls the trans person and tells them where you live that you have to worry about. You have to worry about the wider group. All of them are willing to see you dead. Doesn't mean they'll kill you themselves, but they will play their part in it, and you have to be prepared for that.
Do you have any idea how many nurses and doctors without like explicit Antifa or left-wing terrorist cell network affiliation came out and said that if Charlie Kirk had been in their hospital, they would have accidentally not treated him correctly?
Right. That, or what's really scary is how many pilots do you have? Like, there were several pilots apparently that came out, saying these gross things about Charlie Kirk. I've got somebody really important on board. Do I just sacrifice my life so that I can take this person out of play?
As long as we're here, I now get to play one of my favorite cards ever. Yes, Scott, it's literally all of the credentialed fields. That is where you have to look. That is where the worst of all of the infiltration is. If you look at any field that is credentialed and forces you to go to college, You will, in fact, find excessive numbers of these people. In fact, almost them exclusively in these professions now, because they've used their monopoly on college in order to strangle out and cause, basically, if you can't pass as a Marxist in front of them or are a Marxist, you're not graduating that program.
Well, I have a spy at a well-known university in the United States, and she tells me that she's like, I haven't met anybody who's really political. That being said, the sheer number of people who are just mildly woke and mildly kind of left of center, like as if that's just the way the world is, and it's like, yeah, the sky is blue and trans people have all the rights, or gay should be married, or all these things that are against the traditional values that I think a lot of us hold dear. She's like, they're not crazy people, but they just accept it like water is wet, or you know what I mean? And so that's kind of surprising to me. I actually thought the most people were just kind of like, oh.
Well, can I give you another one here too? This goes way more to Joe's point than even I realized until just this second, now that I've been saying it. But I have been saying this for years, and I mean it. If you really seriously look at who the people are that fall for this and fall the hardest for it, it's literally, it is a direct correlation to who doesn't have mimetic defenses. The atheists are the worst, because the church, any kind of church, any kind of outside moral authority, is a mimetic defense. You can turn to a bunch of these horrific memes that these people allow to take over their minds and rule them. You can say no, because you have object morality. You can say that's not something we can ever do. Whereas these people who have no mooring, they have no defense against mimetics in many different ways, because they've just allowed themselves to be totally stripped. They are so open-minded that their brain has fallen out onto the floor. Those are the people who are the most affected by this.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that one of the things that I did with my kids is I don't necessarily try to brainwash them, I would say. I mean, there is a level of indoctrination that does occur, but it has way more to do with like, hey, ask questions, like don't take it in the way the world feeds it to you, kind of break it down and see what really makes sense, So there is a logic piece there, but there's also a morality piece, It's kind of like, Joe, what you kind of do with your tactical wisdom, right? You don't just say, hey, you should learn to do X, Y, and Z. You do because the so what is, and here's a Bible verse. So it connects, a physical action in the world to some sort of biblical moral principle. And I think when you do that, I think you're absolutely right, Watchy. You give them that inoculation against a lot of the pablum that people just eat it with a spoon because their teachers tell them, and it starts in high school and it goes into college.
Well, no, it used to start in high school.
Well, that's true. Yeah, right. It goes earlier, but
it starts in preschool now. Additionally, what Scott said, and specifically if you're raising kids or if you yourself are finding yourself kind of without mimetic defenses, learn how to analyze that, because going forward, intelligence will be just as important to your success in the world and being able to judge the world for what it is as your mimetic defenses.
Anything else you guys want
to let memes shape your worldview? You have much bigger problems.
Well, to be clear, when we're talking about memes, you understand meme as the image macro thing that everybody calls a meme now. What I'm talking about when I say meme is the Richard Dawkins, the idea that ideas are like ideological genetics that get passed from one person to another, idea viruses, that kind of thing. That's the original origin of the word mimetics, and that's what we're generally talking about when we talk about it.
So anyway, anything else we want to talk about just in the world before we dive into the odds and ends? Anything going on at Camp Ponderosa, Joe?
We were overrun with the deer the other day. And actually, bear-human conflicts are way up here in the Swan Valley.
It's that time.
Oh, in the Swan Valley.
Yeah, all the way up and down. Actually, they have 4 traps out for grizzly bears right now. But I'm amazed at the number of people who will post on Facebook here and say, "Hey, everybody, is this a grizzly bear or a brown bear?" They look literally nothing alike. One is about 5 times the size of the other and looks like it wants to kill you. The other one just looks like a dog that wants to give you a hug.
Yeah, one is a brown mountain and the other one is a aggressive puppy dog.
Yeah, it's just silly. I did encounter a couple of cubs in the road the other day, and I was like, I don't know where their mom is, so I'm not coming any closer, even though they just sat there looking at me. But I was like, no, we're gonna go the other way. So anyway, no, it's been it's pretty interesting, a lot of fun. The most exciting thing that happened in the valley in the last month was Jim coming over and cooking over an open fire. That was a real treat. So good stuff.
Joe, you don't know how jealous I am of you guys just being able to, like, hey, let's get together and fucking cook
hang out around the campfire. Yeah, it is pretty cool. And I'll tell you the other thing that's been going on around here is I have that Kyber Optics 3-18 scope, and I've been plinking away with that. And it's pretty exceptional.
What are you shooting that on?
On a Ruger American 5.56.
Okay.
It won't fit on my Remington 700. It's a little bit older and it's got a different kind of rail on it, so this one won't fit on it. But
yeah, that's awesome. Have you tried one on like an AR platform?
I'm not gonna. No, not yet. I need another mount. I'm not gonna put a 3-18 on an AR, but I will put I have his 1-10 right here to go on an AR. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's the LPVO version. Like, isn't that what that is?
LPVO, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty solid, 1-10. So. I really like the reticle on his LVPOs, but I just have not. I only have one 34 millimeter mount. I need another one.
Joe, so as we transition to the odds and ends here, I thought about you as soon as I read this. This is from the Midwesterner. Dearborn Muslim mayor unleashes on Christian resident at city meeting. You are not welcome here. Let's play the video. Watcher, it's a little further down right there. All right, and we can't hear the video.
Yeah, I'll pull up the audio once I can full screen it. Sorry.
Now this is
very exciting, but
yeah, we don't really care about them, right? We just want to get to the meeting.
In Beirut, and including bombed Menace Street, Hezbollah Street, or Hamas Street. Hezbollah, bombed the embassy in Beirut, and including many Americans. So I just feel it's quite inappropriate.
You are an Islamophobe, and although you live here, I want you to know, as mayor, you are not welcome here. And the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city, because you are not somebody who believes in coexistence.
I don't believe in coexistence either. These people need to be driven from our lands.
Well, and the guy's wrong, though. They never bombed the embassy in Beirut. The embassy was already gone by then. They bombed the American barracks. But I digress. This is Dearborn, Michigan. It's one intersection that has a sign up there, and he's right. It's absolutely evil and wrong that sign is up there. But it is Dearborn. And if I had to pick my fights about Dearborn, I would demand that the business names along the Warren Avenue corridor that he's complaining about must be printed in English rather than in Arabic. You got to pick your battles, man. Pick the right one. One street sign versus literally everything else being in Arabic.
I guess the street sign is named after a guy who was a supporter of Hezbollah. I don't guess it is named Hezbollah Avenue.
No, it's named after a local imam who is very supportive.
Let's see. Let me just read a little bit of this here.
Sounds like communist gobbledygook to me.
Well, Islamo-Kami. The signs approved by Wayne County were unveiled in a ceremony designed to honor his contribution to the American. Let's see, who is it to? Does it say in the story here? Hamoud. Let's see. No, that's the mayor. Designed to honor this contribution to the Arab community since immigrating to the U.S. in 1976, the Arab American News said. According to the Washington Free Beacon, Siblani's radical track record in Dearborn, a heavy Muslim community known for being a hotbed of anti-Israel sentiment, includes numerous appearances in which he praised Palestinian jihad groups as heroes, lauded the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah, and threatened to send Israeli Jews back to Poland. Now, here's the thing, guys. That's a very specific reference, back to Poland. Well, why back to Poland? Well, that's because that's where the fucking death camps were. Mm-hmm. And so, the kind of stuff we were talking about with the people making terroristic threats and things like that on the internet related to Charlie Kirk and right-wing people. I know this guy's a mayor. The interesting thing is that I think all of this kind of falls into that same kind of direct, kind of moral support to terrorism. And, it's kind of like we need to not just apply this to Antifa people or people who celebrate the killing of a specific individual, but anybody who is celebrating terrorist ideas. Now, it is not against the law specifically. But if it's one of those kind of things, it should be like probable cause, Joe, it's like you may be doing something that's not illegal, but that tells me that you're doing something illegal. I just need to kind of,
I'm going to take a different approach. I would rather these people tell me exactly who they are and own it. And that's okay. But I would look into his finances, and I guarantee you, given the comments he's made, you can make a terror funding case. Because I bet you he's donated to that children's charity that's ran out of Dearborn, Michigan, that everyone knows is actually funneling money to Hezbollah.
Oh, CARE funnels money to Hezbollah. And so anybody who gave to CARE, theoretically, is material supporter to terrorism.
Well, I was trying not to say CARE, but they're the ones who run the children's charity. So.
Oh, okay. Fuck them, I'll say it. I don't care.
Seriously, when everyone's like saying, hey, these people should be forced to be cracked down on free speech like Pam Bondi and all that. No, let people talk. It's called target identification.
Right. Like I said, it's not the speech that it's illegal. It's that, okay, great. You're showing me where the fire is because I see the smoke. Right now, I just have to look for the fire. So, 100%. I agree. And by the way, maybe now we're not going to talk about this in the later segment, but the whole Pam Bondi thing. Okay, maybe she's not as bad as I thought she was, but she was really bad in that statement where she's talking about going after people for hate speech.
She just doesn't know any better. It's like the red flag law thing. She thought she was going to jump on the bandwagon, and it turned out it was the wrong bandwagon to get on.
She needs a little sidekick that sits on her arm, and when she starts to say dumb shit, all of a sudden she goes, "Ow!" I mean, never mind.
And I think while she's been very personally loyal to Donald Trump, I don't know that she ever kind of internalized what the beliefs of the America First and the MAGA movement are. She is definitely not. She's just an old school Republican, right? And so she's been tired. They've been saying that she's been saying hate speech since probably the 90s. And she's tired of it, and she wants to throw it back on somebody else, and that's what she did. Unfortunately, she's a fucking lawyer, and she's a fucking attorney general, and you can't say shit like that when you're an attorney general. Yeah, legally, Pam.
Sounds like Ford is moving their HQ to Dearborn. Ford has always been based in Dearborn, and Henry Ford is why you have these people living here. He brought them in and paid them literally slave wages to work in his factory, and then they never left. So... if you want to get into the ideological roots of that, Henry Ford. Yeah, well, if you want to get into the ideological roots of all this, Henry Ford and the Ford Foundation are some excellent places to start. And you should also look at a lot of the different people that the Ford Foundation funds, but we won't get into that here. Ford is located at the corner of Ford and Mercury Drive in Dearborn, and all the high schools are named after members of the Ford family, Henry Ford and Edsel Ford High, and all that. So,
the sad thing is how such good Americans could go so wrong, so poorly.
My problem with the community, having lived there and worked there forever, is that I get a new immigrant who comes here and struggles with the language. But if you're a fourth generation immigrant, you should be speaking pretty darn good English, and they refuse to.
Yeah.
And in fact, Henry Ford is on every street sign in that city, by the way.
Let's be honest, his ultimate failure and the reason that he believed the things that he did, the reason Fordlandia failed, the reason all of the, so many of his different ideas didn't pan out, is because he believed this, at the base, the same thing these liberals believe, which is that all humans are replaceable economic units.
All right. Let's move on to the next one here. Leftists celebrate. Oh God, this. I mean, this was like the prototype for the Charlie Kirk shooting, right? Mondani in Manhattan. Leftists celebrate after New York State judge dismissed 2 murder charges related to acts of terrorism against Luigi Maggione. I said Mondani. The other Mondani.
Fucking pedophile, so I'm glad this is the result. That's amazing. But that just shows we're all together, right?
So, so they basically, and they downgraded, I guess, the murder charge that they kept against him to second-degree murder, which I guess is
are not okay.
The what?
The art students are not okay.
Tell me about it. So anyway, the I guess first degree murder got downgraded to second degree, which is still evidently murder with intent. But I don't know. I'm not an expert in New York legal shit. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know the total difference. But that's just based on what I read from experts on the internet. But just, Joe, I mean, if we were ever going to trust the New York justice system to give us justice for this assassinated CEO, what were we thinking?
Telling me that my hope should lie in the federal government. Well, here's the thing: murder is not a federal crime. Yeah. A murder that occurs in one state, not a federal crime. So at best, you can get some sort of a gun charge out of it that's federal. But other than that, it's kind of hard to do it. You might try. They might be able to get interstate flight to avoid prosecution because it happened in one state and he was caught in the other. But I don't know. It's interesting.
Realize how many people will have to be removed from their positions and how many other people will have to be brought up in order to replace the pool that's completely full of leftists at the moment, simply to just have basic justice functions in our country.
Watch them let him present some sort of mental illness or self-defense claim and get a sentence reduction out of it. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous.
Well, you know, Joe, you kind of like brought this to our attention early on, how they were, lionizing this guy, this Maggione guy. What is that his name? Oh, do I have it right? I don't know. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Anyway, but they were basically like, "Oh my God, this guy's a hero. He's so sexy." You had all these girls talking about how cool he was and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I gotta wonder if that's the same kind of just the inverse twisted reaction that we saw after Charlie was killed. Yeah.
And I want to point something out that was just mentioned in the Rumble chat and that you just were kind of bringing up. Luigi Mangione was made into a folk hero, but before that, the Tsarnaev brothers were made into folk heroes for bombing the Boston Marathon, and Dzhokhar actually made it onto the cover of Rolling Stone with a very flowery article written about him. They are beginning to do the same with the shooter of Charlie Kirk. When the text messages were released yesterday, all of the media outlets, they didn't talk about the content of the text messages, which they should have been, because it raises the issue of why is the roommate not in federal custody at this time? Instead, they said, look at the sweet, touching, caring text message exchange between the shooter and his roommate. He was more worried about Zur or Z or whatever's feelings than about what he had done. They are trying to turn him into a folk hero, just like Luigi Mangione, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, and many others. Understand that and understand what that means, right?
He's fighting for you, right? It's like he's doing it on behalf of the little guy. I mean, this is classic Marxist kind of lionization, almost sainthood, like, non-theistic sainthood.
I'm going to go ahead and jump in here and address that issue that caused so much angst over the weekend when I said it. They're only using the trans people because they are the most willing to do harm right now, because they already are at greater risk of killing themselves. If someone is at risk of killing themselves, they have no regard for any other human life. So they're a very good, useful idiot. And for the greater left, they're kind of using them to get them out of the way. Once they get them out of the way, they're going to have to use some other more valuable people to them.
Yeah.
I exclusively trans you have to worry about.
Yeah, just to kind of echo what you just said and to amplify it, because you and I kind of talked about it a little bit the other day, but the way I've kind of come to see it from your point of view, where the trans thing is a thing, don't get me wrong, but it's just one subset of a way bigger problem. And if you're not focusing on the way bigger problem, it's kind of like you have to understand the big problem before you can go back and deal with the trans problem, right? If you're just focusing on the trans problem, it's kind of like, it's like the limited hangout, that's the one thing that we can kind of throw away and not worry about because we got all this other kind of stuff.
And it's a distraction, right? Everyone spent 2 days last week arguing about whether or not the guy was going to turn out to be trans. That's irrelevant. Leftists are shooting at you. That's what's relevant, right? Yeah. And as I pointed out several times, they hit Charlie Kirk. They were shooting at you, right? And I know it's a metaphor, and metaphors sometimes are hard for people to understand, but Charlie Kirk was a representation and a stand-in for you. Yes, you. Let me point at the camera. You, right there. Charlie Kirk was a replacement for you, and they would shoot you if they had a chance. They could find you. So we have to start understanding that, start realizing that they're just using the trans people because they're the ones most predisposed towards violence. Once they run out of them or it becomes more mainstream, you will have a bigger problem. And you also run the risk of being so hyper-focused on, there's a trans guy on my train, I better watch him, that one of them can start up and slip a shank between your ribs while you're focused on the trans person. Widen the aperture. Pay attention to all your threats.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, gentlemen. Anything else on this? Watcher, anything final you want to say?
No, we're good. Let's just, you can't make peace with these people. Like there are some parts of the left that we probably can make peace with. It might even be larger parts of the left than it currently looks like. But until the Marxist revolutionaries are dealt with one way or the other, there is no room for even discussion with them. That's it.
Yeah, here's the thing. As long as you have Montel Williams going on, CNN or whatever it is to defend the shooter and say, this wasn't about politics, it was about love and emotion. Until they get rid of that fucking position, you're not going to be able to deal with any of them.
So I mentioned this during our Bible study last night, that this guy's actions, Tyler's actions, the shooter, were reasonable when you look at the viewpoint he's been fed and brainwashed into. He literally thought he was saving the world. And
I'm
that's
the good guy.
what you need to understand is all of that, all of the left is telling these people that you're a Nazi and you're a fascist who's going to kill them. So they're not doing evil and shooting people. Everyone says, well, he still had to hesitate because he was shooting a human being. To him, he was not. He was literally fighting the devil. And that gives you a lot of false bravery, and it motivates a lot of incredible things in people. So, yeah, what he did was absolutely wrong, but he didn't think so, and that's the problem.
Yeah, if you want evidence of that, by the way, go review any of the body language experts who watched him when they were reading off his charges or bringing up Eric Kirk's protective order against him or any of that kind of stuff. There's no remorse in this monster. He's proud of what he did.
Yeah, and that's the reason why he said he would rather commit suicide than to turn himself in, because he's basically like, I don't even want to subject myself to their judgment, right? That's, because I don't believe their judgment has any validity, ergo, that's the reason why I killed this guy that I did. That's the mindset of of people like that. And it's completely antithetical to coexisting with people like us who just want to be left alone. All right. But Scott, you just want to be left alone. Why do you keep telling people who they can love? No, it's not about that. It's about you getting into my children's schools and telling them who they have to accept that you love. That's the problem. All right, gentlemen, let's move on, shall we? Of course, there's a war going on the other side of the world that like I would love not to care about, but it's interesting to check in on from time to time. Putin boasts 100,000 troops are participating in Belarus, Russia drills. President Putin on Tuesday boasted some 100,000 military personnel are taking part in the major joint Russian-Belarus war games called Zapad 2025, which has deeply alarmed Poland and other so-called NATO Eastern Flank countries. The drills have been going on for several days and come to a close on Tuesday. And have focused on the stated goal of testing defense of the Union state and to repel all potential aggressions. Putin actually visited the Mulino training ground, a main staging location for the drills in Russia's Nizhny Novgorod region. Aspects of the exercise are happening at sites in both Belarus and Russia. In total, the exercise ensued at 41 training grounds with some 100,000 troops utilizing 10,000 weapons and equipment systems, according to the fresh words of Putin. Moreover, this is all modern military equipment used in practical combat work, and the plans for the exercise are based on experience gained during the special military operation. Tens of thousands of types of troops or equipment, including 333 aircraft, tactical aviation, strategic aviation, and military transport aviation. More than 247 ships are also used, surface, submarine, and support vessels, Putin was quoted. The drills also included 25 foreign delegations which participated. Other nations sent representatives to observe. As we noted earlier, one notable presence was a Pentagon delegation. U.S. military officers were on hand to observe the war games and were photographed in what was described as a surprise visit, wherein the Belarusian defense minister, Viktor Krenin, instructed that the U.S. officials could look at whatever is of interest to you. It says the ministry released videos showing 2 uniformed U.S. officers thanking Krenin for the invitation and shaking his hand. We will show whatever is of interest to you, whatever you want. You can go see, peek, talk to people. The minister told the Americans who declined to speak to reporters. And then, so we got basically 2 U.S. Air Force officers. My guess is that that's who I would send to observe, ground combat exercises, Air Force officers, because they know the most about that kind of thing. The other thing that I would do is, I don't know. These lieutenant colonels, they're very experienced. They're probably trained FAOs. That's probably what they are. Foreign area officers who work like as attachés, military attachés for embassies and that kind of thing. And they could very well speak the language. So it's not so maybe there is some use to having guys like that there.
Are you implying that military attachés are usually intelligence officers?
Well, I mean, I guess you could say that Air Force officers tend to be intelligent. I don't know. The ones that I've known have been pretty good, so who knows? Can you scroll down a little more and you can see the picture of the guys. There you go. Definitely a flattering picture of both of them, which is why they released it. I wish they could have coordinated their uniforms so they're at least in the same fucking uniform. It's like two different Air Force guys in two different uniforms. One's got snivel gear on, the other one's just kind of in his top. I can't imagine it's that cold out there, but hey, it's the Air Force.
Air Force guys try to look as tactical as possible every chance they get.
Yeah.
I'm going to show up in full combat gear when everybody else is just like chilling in their dress or their daily wear.
Yeah, ghetto Marpat over there.
Yeah, on the side here.
Yeah.
Which one?
It looks like a cross between DPM and Timu Marpat. Yeah, Timu multicam.
The one on the far Timu multicam. There you go. Yeah. I was gonna say Marpat. No, yeah, totally. I'm like, I don't know what that is. That's all about. It looks like it might be Hungarian because you see the guy's hat. I think the Hungarian army has a hat like that.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I have nice things to say about the Hungarian army. I had a really good friend when I was at working in Turkey. He was a Hungarian army officer, and he was good people. He even gave me a really
in that new Turkish pattern. So, but I don't know who the guy next to him is either. But anyway, Speaking of camel nerding out, I watched an obscure Rhodesian film. It's actually South African, but it's about Rhodesia last night, called Warriors from Hell. And they were wearing a gray and black variant of Rhodesian brushstroke, and I feel like I need it in my life.
Well, it's not impossible to get custom camouflage stuff made nowadays. It's expensive, but it's not impossible. With these digital printers that they have nowadays.
Yeah.
Isn't there a company that will do custom camo patterns? You just have to buy X amount of
Alpha Charlie in the chat.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Oh, does he do that? Alpha Charlie. Did I speak up?
Well, he knows where to source the camo patterns.
Okay.
I know that he's in there, so I'm just throwing it out there. Black and gray Rhodesian brushstroke, John. I'm just saying.
Like urban Rhodesian brushstroke.
Yeah, it was like an urban variant. It was very good. The movie is a little bit cheesy, but it was good.
Do you remember the? It's so funny how like camo patterns of the 80s were cool in the 80s, but now when you look at them, you're just kind of like, like for instance, the Snake Plissken black and the urban pattern that he had. I mean, it's like, oh, it was so cool back when I saw that movie, but now that I look at him, it's kind of, I wouldn't have said it. I wouldn't wear that.
Yeah.
Another one that doesn't really hold up as far as the camo pattern goes, the Marine camo pattern from Aliens doesn't really hold up that well.
The Colonial Space Marines camo. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I it's like a watered down version of what is it, the M81, Erdl or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah. Actually, Erdl wasn't bad for its day. So
oh yeah. I agree. I mean, but at the same time, it's just one of those kind of things that's kind of like
it's way better than the Mitchell oak leaf pattern. So.
Well, hold on a second, Joe. I mean, we have officially gone into camo nerd out territory. I'm going to share my screen here.
America's first camouflage pattern is right here on my head as we speak. So
very nice, very nice. Frog.
Yeah. Frog Skin Jungle.
So this is the Aliens 1986 camo pattern. I mean, that's not the worst camo pattern, but still, like I said, it's kind of, you know what I mean? It's like, it just doesn't like hit enough. It would look good on screen, but when it doesn't hold up under further scrutiny.
You know one that does hold up though? Red Dawn.
Here, I'll grab that one real quick. And since we're already there, might as well look at it. Oh, well, here's another swatch. So that maybe that's an original uniform. So let me give you the swatch here of the Aliens camo pattern, and tell me if it looks better in this swatch here. Stand by. Okay, they come in threes. Oh, sorry. So this is that same camo pattern, but I guess not faded.
It looks better that way.
It does look better like this. Aliens seamless one. Oh, that's just Aliens. So that's kind of like let's see, Red Dawn camo pattern. Somebody, who was it that yeah, there we go.
Now the Russians had one that was very similar to this, but for whatever reason they didn't use it in the movie. But
well, I'll be honest with you. I think the reason why they didn't use it was because it was basically based on somebody's memory. Like they saw a picture of it and then they created this based on the memory of it. But this is in some way, in a lot of ways, this is actually cooler than that original Russian camo pattern.
Yeah.
I could do without this being white though. You know, like if it were tan, maybe that would be better. And then maybe the brown is a darker brown.
Think about where the Russians were fighting in the early 80s. Afghan mountains. This was about perfect.
And it is accurate. This is the one right here.
Yeah.
Old Charlie Sheen. All right, enough camo nerding. Back, stay on target. Stay on target. Okay, speaking of nerding. Yes. All right. Joe, you want to talk a little bit about tactical-wisdom.com?
Sure. Listen, y'all can buy books there. It's okay. No, the government won't track you. It's not a bad thing. Feel free to buy some books from me. I know someone just bought a patch, so that goes out today. But feel free to check out the website. I haven't gotten an article up yet this week. I've got like 5 different ideas that stem mostly from anger, and I decided maybe I should not write when I'm angry. But I am going to write about how to know how to separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. There's a lot of folks who, until last week, were just like, it's not a big deal, not a big deal. But then last week, they're like, oh my gosh, things are getting wild. I want to join your group and I want to help. Listen, some folks, they're better in a support role than they are actually with you out in the field. And we're going to talk about how to decide who gets to do what and what other jobs you can give people and things like that. So be watching for that article and be watching for me to redo the whole affiliate things. Wrench Turner, I've got plenty of Pencott Badlands and Pencott Woodland, so it's good stuff. Pencott makes great camo. They make 2 exclusively Marine Corps patterns that only our friend at 241 Tactical gets, and that's Leatherneck and Devil Dog. So good stuff.
Commando Store has that Gorka suit in that pattern. I think that'd be insane.
Oh, listen, mutually assured. If you are looking for anything of a Rhodesian brushstroke variety, our friends at Fire Force Ventures are remaking all of the brushstrokes. So fireforceventures.com. The other place you can find it is Helicon Tex. They make the second pattern that's a little bit darker and is absolutely fantastic. So there you go.
You know, I tell you, normally I wouldn't just like immediately go to an Alex Jones clip, but I think based on our recent autistic spurg on camo, this Alex Jones link that I shared in the private chat watcher is worth a look.
Yeah, Watcher, somebody else told me about that a little while ago. I've got a call out, just a text out to somebody right now trying to confirm that.
Yeah, let's see what.
I've got video of the gate.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? Before we move on, though, there's a quick question here about what did the Snake Plissken pattern look like? Scott, I think we have to address that.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Snake Plissken
So real quick,
pattern.
here's that video you requested.
Yes.
Hey,
I'm a Canadian. I am a Christian. I'm for real. I'm a white guy. I'm ready to kill. I'm a primitive. I'm like a raccoon in the garage. I basically am a fraud. I'm a patriot. I am 1776. I'm a liberal. I'm a reptoid clone of John Wayne and Elvis. I'm in a scientific matrix grid in the early phases of being inserted into an extermination system. I'm a man.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Let's see. All right. Skate for New York camo. Let's get
when you're trying to decide what camo pattern to wear for the upcoming festivities, remember that we are all Rhodesians.
Yeah, that's all. You can't go wrong with that.
So yeah, I've got a video of the gate and R2D2 getting into the car.
Okay. Scott, you got that picture real quick first.
I do. It's loading. It's being silly, but it is loading. All right. I'll just do it from here. All right, here we go. Let me share my screen. And like I said, this is one of those kind of things. It was super cool watching the movie, but now you look at it and you go, Yeah, it's kind of like a vertical, like faux tiger stripe in gray.
It
not
might
even like
be
black
good in the
and white.
winter in the snow.
Sorry.
There's another. Hold on a second. There's actually another picture that's, I guess. I don't know. I'll share this.
He was wearing yoga pants before they were cool.
It's also a schmedium.
So I don't know. This is a toy version, but this is an accurate representation, I think.
Yeah.
All right. So let's okay.
Wildwood. That's
pretty
legit.
Hey, let me do my brush speeder ad before we go into ongoing terrorist operations. All right, so tonight we're exposing the Chinese threat surging in the South China Sea and the broad neo-Marxist threat infiltrating that exists within the U.S. Laid bare since the death of Charlie Kirk. As external aggressors and internal ideologies clash, preparation is the key. Enter our sponsor, Brush Speeder Store, led by Matt, a.k.a. NC Scout, with training and optics to cut through the fog when naval tensions rise and the ideological battles rage. Brush Speeder's RTO course arms you with secure comms to coordinate with responses from sea patrols to street-level resistance. Advance with the advanced RTO course, honing signal intel and electronic warfare to counter espionage or propaganda networks. The Tactical Combat Casualty Care course prepares you to treat wounds swiftly in any scenario, be it maritime skirmishes or urban unrest. For sharp sighting, the Kyber Optics MDO delivers a reliable closed emitter red dot with a shake-awake technology and 50,000 hours of battery life, ideal for precise shots against the distant threats or close quarters defense. Train and equip with brush speeders from Brush Speeders, Yanceyville, North Carolina facility, or browse brushspeeder.store/collection/training and brushspeeder.store/collection/optics. Use code CFC10 for 5% off courses, optics, radios, and gear. Orders over $100 shipped for free. Big thanks to Matt at Brush Speeder Store for powering the Council on Future Conflict. Visit brushspeeder.store, enter code CFC10, and gear up to defend. All right, back to...
You know what? That reminded me. Two things. Number one, while you're there, check out the Scout and Recce course. Yep. Give ANSI Pattern and I a chance to stalk you in the dark. And Hunch knows what that's all about. Yeah, that's coming up. We'll all be there. It's going to be a good time. And we'll all be at Mountain Readiness beforehand together. boy, I had another point. Oh, you said Matt, and that really struck me. The other Matt, Reverend Hazmat, who's usually in our chat and is on Twitter, he is selling light fighter tents dirt cheap, and he has a bunch of them. So head over to Reverend Hazmat on Twitter if you are in the market for a ICS light fighter tent or the Katoma bed net that the Marine Corps is using. He has a bunch of them, and he's using it to fund his way to come up and volunteer with us at the Veterans Stand Down October 4th and 5th in Libby, Montana. So,
Joe, that's not the only person in the chat we needed to bring up today. We got another member of the chat who is one of our diehards that is in for some surgery today that we want to get some prayers out to.
I haven't heard back from him, so I don't want to mention a name.
By name, yeah.
That's what everyone knows there's a member of the chat having some pretty serious surgery today.
A name, if you're a regular, you would recognize.
And the fact that he has not been all over the chat should probably tell you, but I'm not gonna throw his name out there without him not giving me permission. But say a quick prayer for the member of the chat who's having some pretty serious surgery today. So.
100%.
As long as we're there, I've also not been authorized. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but there's another member of our chat who's probably watching this from the side of his wife's hospital bed. And you should also pray for those too. I'm telling you now.
By the way, I'm spending my morning charging every radio battery that we have. You should probably be doing the same. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah. All right. Guys, let's jump into the first segment here. This is the China v. Philippines round 73 in the South China Sea. China accuses Philippines of ship collision near disputed shoal in South China Sea. This is a CBS News story, so, CBS News, take it with a grain of salt, but it seems to be fairly consistent with what I'm seeing other places. China's Coast Guard accused a Philippine ship of deliberately ramming one of its vessels on Tuesday near the disputed Scarborough Shoal in the South China Sea. The Philippines denied it, saying Chinese forces used powerful water cannons that damaged its ship and injured the crew member. The Chinese Coast Guard statement said that more than 10 Philippine government ships coming from various directions entered the water around the shoal called Huangjiang Island in Chinese, and it deployed water cannons against the vessels. The encounters came 6 days after China announced it was designating part of the Scarborough Shoal as a national nature reserve. The Philippine government, which calls the shoal Bajo de Masinloc, filed a diplomatic protest. China and the Philippines have clashed repeatedly around the outcroppings in the South China Sea, which China claims almost in its entirety. The two countries are amongst several that have competing claims, blah, blah, blah. The Philippine Coast Guard said the two Chinese Coast Guard ships hit a Filipino fisheries vessel, and the BRP Datu Gumbang Pyang with powerful water cannons for nearly 30 minutes, resulting in significant damage, including the captain's bridge, the captain's cabin, and the bridge. A glass window was shattered and injured a personnel with a deluge cannon that caused a short circuit that affected electrical outlets and 5 outdoor air conditioning units. The Chinese Navy warship also broadcast a radio notice announcing live fire exercises at the shoal, which caused panic amongst Filipino fishermen, said the Philippine Coast Guard. The Philippine Coast Guard and fishery ships were deployed to the shoal on Tuesday to provide fuel, water, ice, and other aid to more than 635 fishing boats in the area. In August, a Chinese Navy ship collided with the Chinese Coast Guard vessel. This is the video that you remember we showed, and that basically the ship completely collapsed the front compartment of, what is it, about the front, like 5 or 6 meters of the ship was just completely smashed in. Let's see. In September 2024, a CBS News crew witnessed an incident in which a Chinese Coast Guard vessel rammed a Philippine Coast Guard ship that had deployed for a mission to resupply ships and stations in the South China Sea. The high seas accident last month was raised concerns about maritime safety and questions about the extent to which the U.S. should involve itself in the longstanding tensions. Guys, where are you at on this? I mean, like, I know our brains have been really I mean,
that's where I'm at.
The Filipinos. Here's the problem. I don't know that the Filipinos can stand up to the Chinese by themselves.
No, but we can, and that's what I'm saying.
And so, like, do you think? So you think we should go to war over the South China Sea and the Philippines?
If that's, I think it should be clear that we are willing to, and I think that China evaporates when we do that. That has happened most of the time. We stand up to them. If it doesn't, then hey, we're on the collision course anyways. We would actually probably be better positioned if it were now than if it were in 6 months from now. But I don't know. That's just my estimation, given that all of our shipbuilding efforts are at the moment.
Well, that's what you call long lead investments, right? It's not something you just turn on.
Yes,
like
and we're not making them.
Well, we're making them now. There's a lot of new money in the last two, in both the 2025 and the 2026 NDAA for new ship builds. But the problem is not just new shipbuilding. The problem is the places to fucking build ships. I mean, we just don't have enough fucking slips.
Well, no, and that is what I'm saying, is we're not doing anything to address that. Like, we've given more contracts, but the contracts aren't juicy enough to elicit people to start new shipbuilding companies. So that's not happening.
That's where the whole kind of deal with South Korea was supposed to come in. The Trump administration correctly said that our South Korean friends can help us build ships muy pronto. But the problem there is that the South Korean government has not signed the fucking trade deal yet. And so, that's part of the deal, is that they're going to build new shipping facilities or shipbuilding facilities within the United States. And then I think additionally, we're going to allow them to make ships of certain types in South Korea. Maybe they're merchant marine ships. I don't know the types.
That would make sense.
Yeah, it would make sense. And, the South Koreans are about as competent as shipbuilders as it gets, but ultimately national defense stuff is different than
with Asian efficiency. So we probably way better than American shipbuilding. I'm not trying to down American shipbuilding, but Americans are not efficient people. So, but I was going to say, I'm waiting for They Might Be Giants to create a song. No, those islands are Chinese, not Filipino. There's an entire potential for a market right there.
It writes itself, Joe.
It does. It literally does. So, I think that China is testing the waters to see what we're willing to do. And every time you see a domestic distraction inside the United States, you see action by China on the other side of the world. And there was a call that went out last week for nationwide organizing for people to join the Trans Army. I will guarantee you that the MSS is behind that, as an attempt to foment more social discord within the United States. And when you look at all these different groups that are out there, I think, Washer, you've got a story coming up about a Chinese person at the center of this armed queers group. And they're Chinese. Crazy. How that all happens. So
well, we were talking at work today, and you guys know where I work. So we were talking at work today about how when they go deep enough down that rabbit hole, when they find the MSS at the bottom of it, and I'm not talking about Maven's smart system, the excellent volunteer project.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Chinese Secret Service. They will then that puts all of the violence that occurs in the political violence that's occurring in the United States from the left in a completely different fact pattern.
I don't want to jump the gun here, but we've already arrived at a fact pattern that hit that before we even hit the MSS. Again, we'll get there when we get there.
It reminds me of Aragorn and Theoden speaking, right? I will not risk open war. Open war is upon you, whether you would risk it or not.
Yeah. So, all right. So, Philippine on Chinese violence is not the only violence occurring. Vietnam's new South China Sea play, from militarization to conservation, I thought this was an interesting. I mean, you guys might find this a little bit boring, but from an IR standpoint, I think it's very interesting that the Vietnamese are establishing any amount of kind of presence because it's not just the Philippines that are getting bowled over by the Chinese. Everybody in that neighborhood is. For years, the South China Sea narrative has been dominated by image of dredgers and military outposts. China's building artificial islands and Vietnam quietly following suit to secure its claims. Headlines have focused on sovereignty, militarization, and the looming specter of conflict. Yet, as many great power rivalries deepen, the climate change looms over maritime ecosystems. So, of course, the lefties care about climate change. So they care about this.
They had to throw it in there. It's required. So.
Well, that's true. Vietnam is quietly reshaping its strategy. The newest storyline is not about reclaiming more islands, but about reclaiming legitimacy. Now, this is the reason why China did what they did. And that's the reason why I wanted to talk about this, because, when Vietnam does it, I think Vietnam is kind of being cagey. But the fact that Vietnam did it first and then China comes out and says, hey, this is a national maritime, nature area or something like that. Oh, by the way, it's 100% the Philippines, but now it's Chinese. Hanoi is now presenting itself as a steward of biodiversity, advancing a narrative of conservation and sustainability. It's a notable pivot from the familiar optics of defense fortifications of those coral reefs and sea turtles. In April, Vietnam announced plans to expand its system of MPAs in the that's marine protected areas, by the way. In the East Sea, its official term for the South China Sea. Oddly enough, that's exactly what Korea calls the sea, the the Sea of Japan. Let's see. The initiative, part of a broader marine strategy in 2030, that has received little international attention, but implications for geopolitics and the global ocean governments are profound. Go ahead, Watcher.
It's sort of, maybe, like, it's an interesting hope, but it's essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, it's essentially saying, hey, hard power failed, let's try soft power, which is not usually a winning play.
Well, yeah, I don't think that's it. I think this is a play to the international kind of, the international, kind of global order. That relies on things like the, what are the laws of the sea? I can't remember what the open seas treaty or something like that. I can't remember what these treaties are.
That's like at sea, but yes, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Anyway, there are several of these kind of international agreements that essentially China has been completely, they're getting bodied in the International Court of Opinion and the international maritime courts and things like this over their violations of national sovereignty of all of these other countries. And I think what Vietnam is trying to do is to gain legitimacy with these international bodies, not just with a straight economic claim or military claim, but hey, listen, we're actually taking care of these coral reefs. Like, China just wants to rape them, but we want to protect them. So if you get the kind of international globalists on your side, then ultimately that would help against China. But I think this is the kind of thing a country does when it doesn't have a whole lot else to do. Unless you're China, when they do it, then it's basically an aggressive move.
Yeah.
Let's see. From hard power to soft power with a green brush. Why the shift? Vietnam understands that brute force tactics in the South China Sea come with diplomatic costs. While China has drawn widespread criticism for its sweeping island building campaign, Vietnam has largely avoided the same degree of scrutiny, despite engaging in smaller scale reclamation of disputed features. Now, with a green agenda, Hanoi seeks to bolster its image as a responsible actor aligned with global environmental norms. The Communist Party has embedded 27 new marine protected agents. And by the way, the Communist Party of Vietnam, so of course they're Greens, right? Spanning over 442,000 hectares into a national marine strategy. Let's see. There was a part of here about China. I wanted to get to this. In the churning South China Sea, optics do matter. While China faces mounting criticism for environmental degradation caused by its island building, at giant clam harvesting, Vietnam can protect itself as a contrast, a smaller power acting responsibly despite its vulnerabilities. This image plays well with Western partners eager to support climate leadership in the global South. So I think this is what it's about. Ultimately, it's a way for them to get more money out of the West, because a country like Vietnam needs every dollar it can get when you're going up against China in the South China Sea. Joe, what's your where am I wrong about that?
Well, China's never really been an honest player, literally anywhere. And they just saw a chance to be like, hey, we can jump on a bandwagon here. China has always been one to grift off of other people's things. Like, for example, in America, when we made the big push to cover literally every piece of green land we have with solar panels, China got in on that. Hey, we can make solar panels for you. And then when we said, no, like Chinese solar panels, they said, oh, well, then buy these ones here that are made in Vietnam by Chinese people from a Chinese factory that got a sticker put on them in Vietnam. But this is an example of it. And Vietnam was faster to the punch than them. And they decided they aren't going to let Vietnam win in that arena either. So they're going to try to take that over. I think this is all when you get back to the bottom of the dispute between Vietnam and China, it goes all the way back to the border war in '79, and the Spratlys have been at the center of it. They actually fought, both sides made amphibious landings in the Spratly. Like, the Chinese landed and took it from the Vietnamese, and the Vietnamese landed and took it back, and it still goes back and forth. And now they're just going to try to get international law on their side by claiming environmentalism. Surprise everyone, they're both lying.
Yeah. By the way, it's called the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea.
COLA or COLAS or whatever it is. Yes.
Yeah. I got these a little out of order, so bear with me. But this next one is basically video of that. God, this is the only thing I can say is this poor little guy, the poor little vessel getting completely bullied by these Chinese Coast Guard ships. So if just play the third clip here.
By the way, in the article that we were talking about, I'm sorry, I meant to say this earlier. In the article they talk about, they have to mention climate change. It's like whenever they say the Ukraine war, they have to say Putin's war on the Ukraine. And anytime they say Trump, they cannot call him President Trump. They must just call him Trump.
Well, the interesting thing is that during the Biden administration, for sure, if you linked something to climate change, you were going to get a lot better support than if it's just a national security linkage.
Yep.
So this is that vessel that was going to help out, or to resupply. This is the Philippine fisheries vessel.
Well, and I want to comment on how cruel this is, because when they're talking about resupplying fishers, you see the fishers there in the image. They're on these tiny, like, traditional boats that they've only very recently, within the last 20 years, strapped motors to. Like, that's all they are. And so they have to support them. They have to give them ice and water and food, or else these guys will die.
Who is filming this? And who?
I think this is one of the other Filipino vessels,
Coast Guard vessels.
Some sort of Filipino law enforcement right there, because they're all wearing bulletproof vests with their acronym, and they're wearing masks. So
why?
What does it say? MMOV? What is it? I'm just googling that to see what it is.
I'll pause it when I see it.
I was wondering if it's a Vietnamese ship.
Philippine sailor, Okay, so that is that's a Coast Guard BRP vessel, and that's what MMOV, I guess, stands for. The vessel that they're on is called
multi-mission
MMOV.
offshore vessel.
Yeah,
Filipino vessels assigned to assist their Coast Guard. Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. So there you go.
Yeah. And so basically, this is one of the vessels, I think, that were maybe rammed.
It's a cross between their Coast Guard and their game wardens.
Yeah, it's like a cutter, but it's it's actually not a small ship. See, this is the kind of ship that I'd want to turn into like a.
I'll remind everyone that Filipinos are among the best seafarers in the world. So
you want to get to that less breaking news.
You will find them vastly overrepresented on United States Navy ships.
Yeah. Well, and even on the United States Merchant Marine ships.
Well, that's true.
Well, as long as we're going to go there, I will say that they are significantly overrepresented in the American Chiefs Corps.
All right.
They look good in tans, though. They really do.
Filipinos are definitely represented heavily in South Korea as well. All right, gentlemen, let's talk about this. I don't know this. I don't want to talk about Charlie Kirk, because everybody's done that to death. We talked about him for 2 full shows. We talked about everything surrounding his thing, and we talked about some of the things going forward. And what I really want to dig into is the threat that has basically revealed itself, and it's shown. Like, we always talked about Antifa. We've been talking about Antifa since fucking summer of 2020, like even before we had a show, right? Like, I remember that's one of the things, if I remember correctly, when we were just like in comments on back then it was Twitter, and how we met, right? It was a lot of the kind of 2020 and 2021 kind of stuff, and that's what kind of brought us together to do this show. And so I think for guys like us, we've always seen this in America. But here's the thing for me, Joe, is there were people represented in this kind of outburst against Charlie Kirk that I wasn't counting on, right? Like, I didn't see that coming, right? There are a lot of people out there that, look like absolutely normal people, but they show themselves to be like pod people, by these kind of crazy exaltations of joy when Charlie Kirk was killed. And then maybe some of that is reflected inversely to, like, when Maggioni died, assassinated that guy. And so you had these like sorority girls like saying, "Oh, he's so hot," and like, this is like, so cool and things. I was kind of like, what that's kind of weird, right? Like, there was definitely a like an edgy chic thing around him as far as praising him for what he did. Now, like, you're seeing really normal. So some of these people are outside of the demon possessed persona that they have. They're fairly normal looking, just walking down the street. That you wouldn't give them a second look or say like, "Oh, Antifa," or like whatever. So that just shows you that this ideology is way more widespread than we thought. I mean, some people, sure, maybe some people knew about it, but as somebody who looks at the space, I didn't know how widespread the hatred was. So that's what surprised me, and I want to kind of dig into that a little bit today, guys. So this first story, you want to talk about the event that just happened. Before we get into this, let's do that. Watcher, you want to pull up what you have?
Certainly, yes.
I have no idea what's happening.
In an act of terror on the FBI Pittsburgh office, a man has rammed the gates and then fled, and a bomb squad robot is now going over the... Here, I'm actually I'll let the news reporter talk. Go ahead.
Maybe he was hired to demolish the building, since they're like, I'm sorry. That's not.
Could be.
Why do they always have their hazards on? That's what amazes me.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna let her talk for a sec.
White car that crashed into Pittsburgh's FBI building gate around 3 a.m. this morning. You can see, if you look closely right there, there is a bomb robot on the scene checking that car. FBI agents on the scene as well, investigating this crash.
R2D2,
they have confirmed there were no injuries.
Witnesses in the area say they saw a man get out of that vehicle, drape an American flag over the gate, yell something, and then walk away. There is a message with expletives written in red on the driver's side door of that vehicle as well. The FBI says that they've identified that man as Donald Henson of Penn Hills, Pennsylvania, and they're asking if you have any information about him to call 1-800-CALL-FBI.
Breaking news.
So probably somebody who was activated in the past week.
I'm going to call BS on this.
What do you think it is?
I mean, okay, so remember the one where the guy rammed the White House gate and they very carefully got out and laid out his brand new Nazi flag next to the car?
Oh, yeah.
Every time the FBI needs to look cool, they do something like this. I'm sorry, something like this happens to them. My apologies, FBI. I didn't mean to imply that you had something to do with it. But how on earth do you ram the gate of the FBI office and then just walk off and not be tackled by the 37 security officers that they have? Well, you don't unless they wanted you to. So I find it fairly interesting. This just smells of, they're going to say, oh, look at the right-wingers attacking us. We have to get the attention off of the left wing. Here comes an attack. And listen, JRH, I'd believe that, except that he wrote something on the door and threw a flag over the fence.
Yeah.
So,
do we have any idea what the flag or what the thing was?
No, not yet.
They didn't say what it says on the door.
Well, the flag was an American flag. We have no idea what it says on the door, and it says he left a message. Like, it says there's a written message too. So I'm sure we'll find out. In fact, that what I just shared with you is an hour old, so I'll look into it and see if anything's come up since then.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say until I have more information, I don't know. I mean, I have no fucking idea what's going on anymore.
Okay. We have a picture of the suspect.
Let's see.
White 55-year-old bald man. Oh, that's close.
Yeah. I couldn't look more right wing if I tried. I'm surprised I don't have a picture of him in an Under Armour shirt, right, with an American flag on the sleeve.
Let's see. Pittsburgh, man crashed a vehicle. 2:40 a.m. is when that happened. First heard screeching of tires, and so the aftermath of the crash as he got out of the vehicle. Oh, we got him getting out of the vehicle. There's him walking away. What's he got in his hand there? Is that like a hoodie? Oh, yeah. This happened at 3 a.m. Look, this is both radicalized and shit-faced. That is both.
So it is a combination of alcohol and Charlie Kirk induced radicalization.
Potentially. I don't know. We're going to have to find out because, like, remember, these guys have done the whole we're going to plant false trails to try and make us look right-wing hundreds of times at this point. So I no longer take any of these on-the-scene signs as much. Well, actually, that's not true. I do if they're explicitly left-wing, and that's because I have yet to see an instance of somebody who is right-wing planning some left-wing stuff to throw people off the trail. The left-wing accuses us of that a lot because they like to accuse us of what they're doing a lot.
So,
hey, Space Kissinger.
First of all, if I was going to attack the FBI, it would be far more effective than that. So no, but only one person I know of in our chat happens to be temporarily in Pittsburgh. And he specializes in roof work. So
speaking of which, Hunchadurry Roofer gifted 5 subs to Future Conflict over on Rumble. Thank you very much. Also, Low Key Blark gifted 5 subs. So if you guys don't have a subscription over on today'd be the day to get one.
Yeah, and Space Kissinger became a member
here
on
in
YouTube.
Philly. My bad. That's so far away.
Philly motherfucker. What's the difference? What's the difference between those two places? I mean, are they really different significantly? I mean,
they smell the same. They both smell disgusting.
That's true. All right.
Time to get into it.
Let's dig into how the left programmed young people to hate. In the spring of 1975, the Red Army faction, more popularly known as the Baader-Meinhof Gang, stormed the West German embassy in Stockholm and murdered 2 of its staffers before setting the building ablaze. In its aftermath, a British tabloid printed a headline whose bluntness masked its profundity. So who's sick? It was less of a headline than a rhetorical diagnosis reflecting on the bewilderment of these seemingly senseless acts of terror. Was it the bourgeois world condemned as corrupt by these self-styled revolutionaries, or was it the revolutionaries themselves who were in their righteous fervor appeared to be possessed by demons? Sounds familiar, right? The question was never one that admitted an easy answer in that moment, and remains just as piercing in ours. For when half a century later, Charlie Kirk was struck down in the midst of civic debate, when voices on the progressive left respond not with horror, but with unholy glee, we are forced once again to confront the same ambiguity. Who is diseased? Who is truly sick? The question still hangs in the air, accusing its audience as much as its subject. I'll be honest with you. There's no ambiguity from my foxhole. It's the people on the left. They are absolutely fucking sick. They have lost their humanity, and that's just all I can say about that. Just kind of, this initial supposition, guys. What do you guys think? There's a sickness amongst these people.
I mean, I don't think anyone is going to dispute that, right?
Yeah.
But it's sort of a mass psychosis. And as I said before, these people believe they are fighting evil. I mean, there's nothing they won't do for that. It's a jihad, and jihadi principles apply.
All right. So Jillian Becker, in her study of the same phenomenon published in 1977, placed the emergence of the Baader-Meinhof gang within an extended historical frame, tracing how West Germany's post-war radicals were the children of those who had lived through the Third Reich, parents whose relationship with Nazism was often ambivalent, sometimes unrepentant. The children judged them guilty of complicity and cowardice. In turn, they feel they had no tradition to receive, let alone uphold, no cultural authority to embrace on their own. Watcher, it's almost that mimetic infection was ripe for the taking, kind of like what you said, right?
Yeah, when you have no defenses against these things, like when you have no defenses against any idea that comes into your mind, when you have no other previous ideas that establish primacy. Don't be surprised when the very worst instincts that we have long since driven out of humanity via cultural are suddenly brought back to the forefront. Like, if you disagree with me, I'll kill you.
Yeah. The parallels with today are clear. The obnoxious, jeering, bratty mobs on social media and their elevation of spite into virtue. These two are not simply political stances, but symptoms of a generational breakdown. Becker's lost children of post-war Germany were orphaned by the silence and ambiguities of their parents' Nazi past. Today's youth, though shaped by different conditions, are estranged in an analogous way. Heirs to a liberal order that preached emancipation but delivered only derecognition. So the historical parallels are evident. The youth cut adrift from their cultural moorings find themselves drawn less to renewal than to destruction. This is exactly what you were talking about. And this is one of the things that I've talked about ever since like I saw Columbine happen, right? Because for me, that was the crystallizing moment. Now, it took a couple of years afterwards to kind of put this thought together, but because it's kind of hard to see it up close. But Columbine for me was the beginning of the overt destruction of generations, and it was the millennials, right? I think it was the millennials, right? That were in high school at that period of time, going into 2000, and they had lost the church, they had lost moral relevancy, they had lost any kind of hierarchical social standing. This is the generation where everybody was getting a trophy. Everybody, was just starting to kind of get into the internet. It was the late 90s. And so, vast amount of information became available. and there was no moral kind of backbone or framework in order to kind of, give their lives meaning the way we had, like with the church or with, just patriotism. Hell, it could have been as simple as summer youth baseball, that type of thing. Do you guys think that it's something more specific, or do you think it's just that kind of a lack of a guiding framework in society?
I think that in the 70s, everyone was taught to look at the groups like Baader-Meinhof, the Italian Red Army Brigade, the Japanese Red Army, and all these other ones. Look at this, while the actual communist infiltration occurred in the colleges, right? We were so busy fighting them in the embassies and airliners of the day and all of that, that we missed the actual strategic move by them, which was taking over our youth. And now we are reaping that. And it's no coincidence that the psychology of the Baader-Meinhof guys is the same as we're seeing on the left now. It was an intended outgrowth.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I mean, you got a little generational difference than me and Joe. What's your kind of take on your view? Beyond the mimetic defense piece.
Sure. In what way? In comparing these kids to the kids of Nazis, or because I don't think that's accurate. We didn't have some kind of giant generational breakdown that happened. I have always and forever said that this is the results. These are the fruits of the generational march through the institutions by radical Marxists. This is the tip of the current Marxist spear. These people are the way they are, stripped of all mimetic defenses, because they were strategically maneuvered into that.
Well, give me an example what you think maybe like your generation didn't have that maybe we had when, like for instance, like growing up in the church or structured activities, like I would go play D&D with my friends, or I would, I'd go to my friend's house and it would just be me and my friend Josh hanging out. Two other friends would come over. There'd be four of us like running around in the woods, but it was always like constructive. Like it was always like a group,
What you have to remember is that I'm not. I grew up. Look, man. Very seriously, when I look at where and when I grew up, I was the last helicopter out of Vietnam. I was the kids who were about my age, maybe a year or two younger than me, were the last kids who grew up like you. We caught the very tail end of that, where the very last part of our childhood is what was disrupted by the internet and all this other stuff. But I don't think it was the internet too. Like I keep saying this, it's not. It's not the internet. I think that's
part of it, but
well, no, it's not.
It was happening before the internet.
It was happening long before the internet, and it's the internet has. Without the internet, most people would not have seen that it had happened, which is why they are now trying to crush the internet. This is. Again, if you look back on it, this has been our long retreat on letting these Marxists into the institutions. We let them in on multiple different levels during World War II because we said we wanted their skills. High-level government institutions, and from there they have leveraged their power. I view this as nothing but Marxism because I can look at the people who grew up in my generation, again, the ones who had the last kind of gasps of a normal childhood, and the ones that went leftist weren't the ones who didn't have a normal childhood. They were the ones who had parents that were fucking Marxists. They were the ones who, not even that necessarily, but a lot of them, yes. But a lot of them were also were their parents a union member? That's a huge indication. Were there all kinds of, were they leftist affiliated? Were they looking up to leftist icons? And then honestly, the biggest one, because even a bunch of kids that grew up in great houses with great families, did they go to college?
Yeah.
It's a flat out radicalization chamber.
Our children were raised right, but the minute the college system got a hold of them, things changed almost immediately. But Rowan Cohort really nails it. This is all because they banned lawn darts. When there was a risk of death for playing a game in your front yard, life was better.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. Yeah, I don't look.
What?
Like, people want to blame this on all kinds of stuff, but like, again, the way I see it is pretty clear. I watched my teachers that were being forced out of their jobs by people who were a little more radical left than they were, and I didn't realize that that's what it was at the time, but I can look back now and see pretty goddamn clearly that that's what was happening, and they were trying to tell us that it was happening, but in the I'm going to remain a respectful Republican and not say what I think is happening out loud, I'm just going to try and educate you well enough that hopefully you see it for yourselves, which worked out for maybe the top 10%, right? But like,
yeah, so my kind of commentary on that was there was so you know there's all these things that happen in your life and you don't recognize what they are until years later. So like I remember I was dating a gal in college and she was taking a literature, like it was a literature critique class, right? And she was bringing her homework home and her papers, and I was reading and kind of talking with her about it and helping her a little bit. I mean, a little bit, not much. And she was telling me about, oh yeah, well, there's all these different she had a list of like 17 different types of literary critiques, and two of them that kind of jumped to I was like, wait a second, what the fuck? And one of them was Marxist literary critique, and the other was feminist literary critique. Now, there probably was some racial shit on there too. I just don't remember those, right? But the whole point is that this was all critical theory, and critical theory, CRT, all that kind of stuff, critical racial theory, comes out as the big boogeyman many years later. But it was in the early 2000s when that kind of came back to me. And she kept to say, I said, how can you do a Marxist critical, analysis of Huckleberry Finn? Oh, well, you're basically looking at Huckleberry Finn from the eyes of a Marxist, and you basically talk about the truths that are revealed through Marxist analysis and things like this. And I'm like, that's the only analysis I want to do of Marxism is to shoot it, right? Like that was kind of like my flippant response at the time. And she just rolled her eyes because she didn't realize she was being indoctrinated, but that's exactly what they were doing. They were indoctrinating her, and they were indoctrinating all of her classmates. And this is exactly how that shit happened. And it was going on. This would have been about 94, maybe 95. So it was going on way before, what you're talking about, Joe.
And what else went on there was what I call the casualization of society.
Yeah.
Where people stopped dressing up to go to church, stop dressing up to go literally anywhere. And I know some of you younger folks will disagree with me, but there is something to be said for getting up and getting dressed and presenting yourself as a functioning member of society. Well, when they told everyone, and I know you guys are going to say, oh no, you're just being, whatever. No. We told people that you shouldn't have to conform to any sort of a norm, and that all of their rules were meant to enslave you, so you should just not do anything.
Everything's okay. And when we say everything is okay, everything's okay.
I'd like to point out something in this too. Look, who are the people in our society who drive the fashion standards? Why, it is the people at the top. It is the people who are the most look, wearing pajamas to Walmart was always a sign of low-class bad behavior. Always. And low-class bad trailer park people started doing it. When the masses started thinking it was okay is when they started watching the rich and famous do it.
Yeah.
I suppose. But my biggest problem with it was like church. I remember when I was a kid, my parents made us dress up to ride on an airplane, which was silly. But back then, going on an airplane was not something everyone did, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Not like it is now. But I despise when I'm at Walmart and there are people in their pajamas, or more importantly, like Texas Roadhouse. You're at like a nice steakhouse, and there are people literally in their pajamas with uncombed hair. That's not okay, right? That's not normal until businesses start reinforcing standards and say, hey, man, you got to at least put on pants before you come here, right?
Joe, do you remember back in the day on airplanes, like you would have a seat pass and you would have to leave your seat pass in your seat when you got off at the stopover point leading to your final
if you
destination?
left the plane, yes.
And you left the plane and you could go walk around inside because you had like an hour or whatever stop or whatever to pick up people. And you walked right back in, and people could come right up to like the plane.
Yeah, I miss the days of people being able to meet you at the gate. That was always
cool. That was cool. That is not a thing anymore. I just remember Eastern Airlines. It was my first airline that I ever remember riding on. We rode Eastern Airlines down to Disney World. All right, let's move on to the next one here. This is
SB nailed it. CWSB nails it.
SB's good. Yeah. Whoo.
I keep hitting it.
And what's worse, CWSB, is when you go to a restaurant and the waitresses are all wearing that, and you're like, not hungry anymore. No, thank you. Listen, there's a very distinct set of women who should wear yoga pants. It's not.
And she ain't it. That's exactly right. And you ain't. That's the guy was going to say the same thing. There are people who should wear that, and you ain't it.
Bust it up.
All right. I need that laugh before we get in this next one because I have to fucking read anti-fascist Reddit posts. This is Andy. No, you've been training your whole life for this, guys. Antifa subreddit on Reddit. Has made a post saying why Charlie Kirk and those like him deserve to be killed to smear him, and they reference a Media Matters hit piece and tell their comrades to arm themselves with weapons. The post echoes Antifa's belief that if you speak with a Nazi, you are also one, and you should be subject to death. So here's what the post says. Boomer parents addicted to Fox News propaganda, ? Your coworker being a little bitch about Nazi McNeckhole, ? A guy who's never left his hometown sharing gifts of Nazi McNeckhole with sparkling angel wings. Fuck them, they're Nazis. If two Nazis are sitting at a table, a third person sits down, 3 Nazis are sitting at the table. You've been training your whole life for this, guys. Up the punks, organize, protect, take action, arm, and protest. Organize, protest, community building groups, self-defense learning for our gay rude boys and girls, and everything in between, safe spaces, etc. Protect our minorities. This is what Antifa and punk is about. Take action in person or at home by doing effective things. Don't give them more fuel. Arm yourselves. Guns of Brixton by The Clash comes to mind. Take the classes, train your trans friends before they take them away from them. pewpewtactical.com for good beginner advice and directions on how. I brought all my queer fam mace. Think about doing the same. Be safe, be smart, be ready. I support peaceful protest. This is a call to peaceful protest. Yeah, of course you support it. Oh, you're talking about arm. Your time is now. Take action. Yeah, Joe, this is not a call to peaceful protest.
Not at all. Not at all. And they honestly believe that they are in a war. And everyone goes, no one wants a civil war. Hey, listen, you're already in one. You literally have no choice in the matter. You can either decide to prepare yourself to defend your family, or you can just give in to their demands and lose. Pick one.
Yeah, this is there's a lot of stuff going on in this. And there's a lot of stuff under this post too that kind of contextualize a lot of this. And this is not even the craziest post in that Reddit thread. You know, for instance, here's another one in the comments. Trump is considering labeling the trans flag a terrorist organization. Please read this. Hey, as a trans person, I need every single one of you to read this and listen. We're an incredibly small percentage of the population. We are being demonized and targeted. This right here, this really fucking bad because, I mean, the mental illness is obvious just in the writing. You know, I mean, it's like...
The number of times I've literally seen people do the exact Norm Macdonald meme this is Shocking. Just
yeah.
Well, what's amazing is if you actually take the percentage of the public that they are and then compare it to the amount of the political violence they commit, it becomes even more staggering.
Right. And if you want to know what the kind of mentality of people who are basically getting ready for what comes next, listen to this here. This is another one of this is a response to this one right here. So if you go down from the one you were just in, you'll see another Reddit post here, and it says, "Are we really going to pretend these insane fucks did nothing?" Magats spent the last 2 days hyping for mass violence, declaring war on America. J6 terrorists calling to end democracy, have sent bomb threats to black schools, and Democrats, we're just going to go on like nothing happened. These calls come from across the Republican Party, all the way from Trump to congressmen to influencers, thousands of insane minions, just because now they want to back off because it was one of them. Yeah, see, they're still in the kind of bubble where they think it was a MAGA guy who did this.
Here's the problem. The lies that they spew in there, they believe as 100% the gospel.
Exactly right.
Also, who have you seen wanting to back off? I have literally only seen for they are unrepentant. They should be destroyed.
Yeah. Let's see. Forgive them for mobilizing murder Americans. This cannot stand. This cannot stand means that is a direct call to act. That when somebody says when something cannot stand, then that means that we have to do something to stop it. That's what they're also saying. This cannot be swept under the rug. It must be stamped into the conscience of America to finally make everybody realize how sick and twisted they are. To know this is going to be their response as soon as their dear leader decides to activate them. That's what happens. It is clear to America that this is them who are lighting the flames across this country. This is expected of these monsters. Don't let up. Otherwise, they will be able to shape the narrative when they start killing again. Now, Joe, this is a perfect example of this is not politics. This is the threat that we all face.
Well, here's the thing. They believe we're out killing people. The right is.
Right.
All of the killing has been the left. All of it.
Well, I mean, they even think a right-wing guy. I mean, even to this day, after all the evidence came out in the charging documents and everything for this kid, they still think he's a MAGA guy.
Yeah, because they need him to be for their narrative.
Yeah, it's a cognitive dissonance, right?
There's two things that people are saying he is right now. The left is saying he's a MAGA guy, and the ultra ridiculous right is saying it's an Israeli op. Neither of which is true, because it fits their worldviews on both of those groups.
Yeah. Yeah. Stocking Mill Coffee posted yesterday. We're in the pyramid of action. We're in minor guerrilla actions, which is literally the second to last, where the next one is large-scale guerrilla actions.
Another good point is Selwyn raises it. They believe that the guy who killed those Democrat operatives in Washington, D.C., in Wisconsin or Minnesota, was it Minnesota? They think that's a right-wing guy. He was not. He was a Democrat operative, always had been. Even his security work was done in partnership with the Democratic Party. Heck, Tim Walz appointed him to a state office.
Yeah. They try to. I still don't understand how they.
You can't look. I'm sorry. You can't argue anything with leftists. Let me explain something to you that you guys might not understand, but many people are starting to grasp. You can't argue anything with leftists. You can't argue a single point with leftists, not even a single point of their ideology, because all of it is interconnected. And if you try and disprove even a single point, like, hey, that obviously not right-wing shooter was obviously not right-wing, their entire ideology falls apart. All of it. So they defend it all as if it's all part of the same stack.
There's an even darker piece to that, Watcher, and that goes to, and this is something that they noticed in the psychology of Nazis in World War II, and a lot of other people who have been part of different things, right? When you do something terrible, that you thought was okay. It's like, hey, I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. Every day you're telling yourself, I'm doing the right thing because you're drinking the Kool-Aid, right? And you're doing the right thing. And then you get evidence put right in front of you that shows you that you were not right. In fact, you were wrong. You were the bad guy, right? That breaks something in your brain and you're unable to go away from that because you are so, it's the kind of pot committed fallacy, right? But it's in a way kind of deeper psychological way. It's like you literally, it's like if I admit that I'm wrong, then I shatter my entire existence and I destroy myself. And I can't do that. So I have to just continue to go on. Like I'm going to pretend to say, I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing, even though I know I'm doing the wrong thing. I know I'm doing the wrong thing. I know, but I'm just going to do it anyway. And this is how people can do really, 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 really terrible things to other humans that they would have never done in the past. So, for instance, a great example is Jonestown, right? In Jonestown, most of the people voluntarily drank what they knew to be poison and then gave it to their children because it would have broken them to admit that this is not the right thing to do. Right? I mean, this
all
is the
leftists
kind of,
as well.
And this is how you get a death cult.
Yes.
And this is exactly what they are at this point.
Yeah. Or they've been that way for quite some time. They're just now reaching the zenith.
All right, let's go to the next one. This is the third one. This guy is training transgenders to shoot in Utah. He was an Army National Guard. Name is Charlie. He's telling people concentration camps have been opened in the Everglades. He's joined armed queers in Salt Lake City, and that's what we're going to kind of the next piece of this, like the more focused piece of this. So let's watch this video.
Or was he might still be? We're not sure.
Yeah. Well, looking at his beard and his haircut, I doubt he is in.
If he's guard, he can grow that out.
Not with a ponytail.
Okay.
There's no hair thing that would allow him to do that. Especially I don't know if you read the new grooming standards that just came out this week.
That's awesome.
Pretty awesome.
I will say real quick though that he might still be in active reserve, so we can find out.
Well, he could be IRR, but that doesn't really matter.
Hi, my name is Charlie, and like many of you, I've been glued to current events and have been disgusted by what I've seen.
I'm disgusted.
We're actively funding a genocide in Palestine. We have a child predator who pretends to be a king in the White House. And our government has been completely taken over by corporations, capitalist greed, and foreign influences. Our immigrant neighbors and fellow citizens alike are being kidnapped by secret police and robbed of due process. Concentration camps are being opened in the fucking Everglades. USAID being shut down, which will cut off life-saving support for up to 14 million people. Cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, and SNAP benefits for us domestically. Archaic policies that remove women's autonomy over their own bodies. Trade wars with all of our allies and preferential treatment to our enemies. Mass taxation without representation. Attacks on the very rights and lives of our trans and LGBTQ community. And illegally attacking Iran with a threat of war on the horizon. And the list goes on. Every day it's something new and horrible. And I've been seeing everything going on and have had to ask myself, if you were alive during the rise of fascism in Europe and during the Holocaust, what would you have done?
Yeah, we don't need any more of that. It's 4 minutes.
Yeah, that right there is enough for seditious conspiracy right there. He is calling for the violent overthrow of the United States government right there. And he talks about capitalist greed. What's that gaming chair he's sitting in cost? Who forced him to buy it?
He had to buy it, Joe. I mean, don't you know you can't fight the man unless you have a good chair to sit in? Especially when you're a keyboard warrior.
And who is this guy, by the way?
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, hold on. I'll here you go. Charlie Padilla!
Okay. Again, who is this guy? I don't know. I don't mean his name.
We just told you he's training Antifa how to shoot. He's the guy who's been training the Armed Queers SLC group.
Okay. So nobody.
So,
and also, he works at Reddit. Who could have possibly imagined?
Well, then there's nothing wrong. So, Armed Queers of Salt Lake City. Let's look into them. This next post here by Benny Johnson is kind of a good overview.
He goes on the target list. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Armed Queers of Salt Lake City is a Marxist paramilitary group being investigated by federal authorities in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's left-wing political assassination. This radical group immediately deleted their social media in the aftermath of Charlie's murder. However, all data was captured by investigators, and it's very concerning. Federal law enforcement source told me directly that the group deserves classification as a domestic terror organization. The logo Armed Queers features the same caliber bullet that struck Charlie. I don't know how they can tell it was a.
Yeah, how do you determine that?
That might be a quote from somewhere, and that he's just put in there. And in a now deleted video, the leaders of the Armed Queers of Salt Lake City brag about a trip to communist Cuba in May of 2025, where they trained with militant Marxists to stage revolution in America. When they returned home, the Marxist leaders were bragged about being labeled terrorists by the United States. The leaders of Armed Queer refer to America as the belly of the beast in the video. The group has openly coordinated with the Cuban government in various venues and events.
I remember a United States in which going to a Cuba, admittedly training with militants, and then coming back landed you in a jail cell.
Fortunately, this was during the Biden administration, so that America could not be reached for comment.
May of 2025 was not during the Biden administration.
Oh, 2025? Is that when they came back? Are you shitting me?
That's this year.
Oh my god, I thought this was 2023. Fuck. Hell. What the fuck are we doing?
Let me continue here.
Led by a what? Iranian immigrant. Shocking.
Yep.
Meet the leader of the Armed Queers of Salt Lake City, Armaya Fanian. She's an Iranian immigrant and self-identified communist who has been honored by the U.S. State Department, the United Nations, and his ties to the NGO.
That's supposed to say has ties.
No. She doesn't just have ties. She's also on the payroll of the Utah Democratic Party.
And the NGO Utah Global Diplomacy, which has wiped all mentions of her on their pages. Authorities are now looking for the Armed Queers SLC ties to Charlie Kirk's assassination. The story is developing. It's important to begin investigations in the global militant left-wing radicalization network that seek to destroy Western civilization.
AQ, if only there was another terrorist group with the initials AQ.
So yeah.
A couple of miles away from America, 90 miles away from America, and they have a president who talks like us. They have a president who understands the need for a liberated Palestine. And I think that was, that definitely altered my worldview as an organizer.
And when you were saying that, I recalled a very powerful moment at the May Day March of me realizing just how much the Cuban people believed in us to make a change, right? I kind of, going into it, felt like if I was a Cuban person, I'd be like, oh, these Americans are here. What do they know? But that was not the reality of it. They saw us as people who believed the same things they did. And they saw us as capable of really affecting change. And that was truly inspiring to me.
So I found that very powerful.
Yep. He's gonna, we can watch the whole 2 minutes if you want, or the 3 minutes if you want, but he literally says that it was terrorist training. Flat out, not like word for word.
Let's see. Oh, and Data Republican actually responds here. She says, armed queers of SLC also collaborated with the Elm Fork branch of the John Brown Gun Club in training others. The same group implicated in the July 4th killing of the Texas ICE agent, according to the New York Post. Every one of the roughly dozen members who were arrested has ties to that branch.
Yep. They did cross training with them. Hold on. Yeah, I just found where I hid that. There you
go. Did I? Yeah, I've got that one.
It was on her own Instagram. It's And by the way, the SLC guys traveled to Elm Fork for that. It's a 2-day drive.
Yeah. Let's see. Data Republican says Armed Queers SLC co-hosted educational workshops with Elm Fork John Brown Gun Club, the trans Antifa perpetuators behind the July 4th Alvarado ICE facility in Texas. Let's see. She appears to have promoted these on her private Instagram. It got scrubbed, but it was on Google Cache, huh?
Yeah, like when you searched for it, Google's web crawlers, their cache is often several days or weeks out of lock.
So I'll say it again: you are in an armed leftist insurgency.
Yeah. Well, Joe, we've literally had weekly terrorist attacks.
Yeah, and in all honesty, let's point this out. Civil war, most people are thinking of a civil war as state versus state or massed armies on the fields. We are way beyond that. You're now in a generation of warfare where this is what it looks like: targeted assassinations, small-scale attacks, ambushes, power outages, cyber attacks, things like that, rather than massed armies in the field having battles.
By the way, here was that clip I was looking for. If we're terrorists, we're proud to be terrorists. So I'll
go ahead and put this.
In the Belly of the Beast documentary that we had watched there, I think it was from this where it mentioned that while the students at Elam who came from Gaza were there to study medicine, that simultaneously they, just by virtue of being there, studied revolution. And I think that school really probably forms consciousness for a lot of people when they're there to just study how to help people. And of course, that makes sense. And I think that it was at the other university that we went to that I was really surprised by how seamlessly they switched from a Cuban cultural dance to singing communist songs, right? This change was not a change to them at all. It's the same culture to them through and through.
It was the Communist International.
Yes.
That they were saying.
Yes.
Which was really cool.
Yeah, and they weren't the only ones we heard sing that. We also had the chance to interact with organizers from around the world, specifically some people from Germany love to sing the International.
Yes.
And I found it very interesting to talk with them and to see their different perspectives.
Totally. And I think that was also what's so cool about the Mayday Brigade, which we knew was going to happen, but I think we weren't expecting to such an extent.
Mm-hmm.
It was that we were sharing this brigade, not just other American brigadistas, but brigadistas from around the world, from South Africa, from Ghana, from other Latin American countries, from Australia, from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially this was an international brigade where they wanted brigadistas with a revolutionary orientation, with a revolutionary politics, to come and learn about the Cuban Revolution and essentially have to fight against this blockade that our country, as American representatives on the strip.
Sorry, apparently it wasn't in the clip. Apparently it was in writing.
So singing communist songs. They sang Imagine. Like
No,
John
the
Lennon.
Communist International.
Yeah, the International is what they're talking about. But yeah, you're right, Joe. That's fucking talk about. Imagine a world with no heaven. Good Lord, that would be called hell.
Yeah.
Jinx. Anyway,
I'm sorry, but I am sorry, Messenger 911. We do not tolerate blasphemy. Anyway, sorry. Carry on.
Oh, you were.
Yeah, look, a lot of the chat's been saying that she's a man, baby, and I wasn't sure about it until I heard the interview. And yeah, you're correct.
Again, y'all focusing on the wrong things. It doesn't matter. That does not matter. What matters is that she's a revolutionary, and wants to overthrow your government violently. That matters more than her sexual orientation. I'm sorry.
Speaking of revolutionary communists, let's go on to the right angle news network clip, because I think you're right, Joe. I think it probably matters more if you're Chinese.
So the day after Charlie Kirk died, I was in class. My teacher said, "I'll give you 5 minutes for hot takes about Charlie Kirk." I was the only person who raised their hand. I've been saying we need to bring back political assassinations. I don't feel bad, and I don't think that everyone deserves the right to free speech. I think some people should be afraid to express their opinion in public. So this class is literally about revolution in China. All of our readings for this month have been talking about how violent revolution liberated millions of people, it liberated women, and then our reading for that day was specifically about democratic dictatorship, where Mao writes about, yes, people deserve free speech, but there should not be free speech for reactionaries and imperialists and like capitalists and all these people who are against the revolution, because that would reverse the progress that was made.
I guarantee you, every one of these people, if you ask them, if you had a choice between a meat lover's pizza and a Hawaiian, they would all pick a Hawaiian. I'm just throwing that out.
Hey, is literally any person in her family here on a visa?
Bye-bye. She's probably here on a fucking student visa.
That's what I'm saying.
She's.
And by the way, in this video, there's her phone number if you want to.
Well, that's not hers. That is
the way the Chinese run it, right? I mean, they send people over to get out and organize and create these cells.
Yeah, that's not her number. That's the number for Oberlin College, where she's currently going to school.
In fairness, Joe, the MSS, while not the most high tier intelligence service, I don't think they would make hot takes on the internet. She's clearly another useful idiot, but she just happens to also be Chinese. And if you don't think the Chinese don't have a finger in this pie, you're fucking crazy.
Right.
That being said, it's awful inconvenient that she's Chinese.
Right.
It does go to my confirmation bias, I will freely admit. And by freeing people from tyranny, what she meant was freeing them of this mortal coil. That's the 100 million people that she's talking about. Lost Core 23 for $10 says, Joe, stop being gay about pizza. Pineapple joke is sad.
It's not a joke. I don't like pineapple on pizza.
And he doesn't think anybody else should be able to like it either, and I agree with him.
So
you don't have a freedom of pineapple pizza.
We were scientific about this. We had Scott travel to Naples, Italy, and attempt to order a pineapple pizza in Italy. Were you able to order one, Scott?
I was not.
Oh, okay.
And I was told I wouldn't be allowed to, even if I tried.
Right.
In fact, the gal almost threw me out of their store after that. But then she told me about deep fried pizza. Then I was all in. Tried one of those. That was pretty good, actually. I mean, if they do it in Naples, Joe, it's got to be okay.
Yeah, right.
All it was is basically a deep fried calzone. Is kind of how I took it, but. Hey, real quick, guys. Let's. I want to go through, and I got a couple of super chats here. Derna for let's see. Derna for $5 says that's what people believe when they say they speak, and what people believe when they act. If people believed the right was actually dangerous, they would shut the fuck up. I don't know if you typed what you meant to type there, because I don't know that I got that one.
Who? What? Huh?
Sorry, Derna. Yeah, Derna's. I didn't quite understand Derna's super chat.
I think I understood it, but I might be wrong, which is like if the leftists and minorities and people who are shrieking about, oh, the right is getting very scary, actually thought we were scary, they would shut up, not
all right. I think I got this, but this is one of those kind of things when there's no punctuation, I gotta like read into it. There is what people believe when they say speak, and what people believe when they act. If people believe the right was actually dangerous, they would shut the fuck up. Yes. I agree with that. If you thought, I mean, let's be honest. If you thought the right you don't realize the right of the people you don't want to activate in a serious way. I mean, what is it? 90% of our combat veterans are probably on the right.
I would say.
Well, sliders and switches. Sliders and switches. The left has a slider for violence. The right has a switch.
Lance Corporal veteran for $5. This whole terrorist move is showing a rainbow coalition of foreign interests. What's funny is this, Joe. This reminds me of scene from St. Clancy's book Patriot Games, where they do the bomb raid on the Libyan terrorist training camp, and they've got members of the Biter Monhof gang, Red Army faction, the IRA. The PLO, all these like Marxist aligned terror groups from all over the world were all in the kind of rainbow coalition of the Libyan training camp, and then they blew up the camp. But they missed Sean Bean, so
Yeah, but he still died in the movie, so
Sean he did. But he dies it seems like he dies in every movie eventually.
Everything except for Sharp.
Sharps, yeah, right.
I think he dies every single episode. So.
He probably should die as much trouble as he gets into.
He used up all of his extra lives in Sharp.
Lance Corporal veteran, I'm sick of the "what would you do" World War II consensus fallacy. What does that mean? I'm not tracking that one.
Oh, it's all about
would you kill?
They're always comparing Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler, and what would you do if you were there when this was all starting?
Yeah. Would you kill Hitler if he was a baby?
That's a good point, Matt Al. He did not die in Ronin. He just quit.
That's true. But he got fucking pwned in Ronin.
We're about to go, and I just have to say that an author who is a friend of many authors who's on the show just had the coolest and most unique hey, I'll give you an individualized book I've ever seen in my life. Larry Correa just stopped by Arc Publisher Press in order to shoot the title page of each Invictus edition that will be signed by him as well as kinetically altered. That's fun. I like that.
I mean, any excuse to shoot right?
That's better than a signing day any day of the week. I'm sorry.
Lance Corporal veteran for $5. When you kill your god, don't be surprised when your children turn on you when they replace the old god with a new one. Well, that's right. Tucker said this in that quote that I forced you guys to listen to the other day, which I thought was pretty fucking good. Was that they when they created the atom bomb, they feel like they killed God and became God. And so thus we've been on a downward slide in morality ever since. Lance Corporal veteran for $5. Fed property are unmanned at night with minimal security, which is why the late response. Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know.
I doubt the FBI office is unmanned at night. But I wanted to point something out. We often idolize and glorify the IRA, but do not ever forget they were Marxists. So.
I'm just going back through all the chats, making sure I got all the super chats, and I think I got them all. Okay. Guys, let's go around the horn. Joe, looking towards the end of the week. I mean, do you look for any movement in this kind of? Do you think that the Trump administration is actually going to take some concrete steps against these leftist fucks?
No, I think we're going to keep talking about how we want to, and there's some talks about it, but we're not ever going to do it.
And somebody should do something.
Yeah, well, we're thinking about labeling them a domestic terror organization, and they're going to say, "Well, I didn't meet the threshold, and this guy wasn't Antifa, and blah blah blah." It's going to keep on going.
It's like Sam Bondi is like, somebody should do something about this.
Yeah, somebody ought to do something about this, and we're not going to, because there's really no legs in it. You're going to find out too, with just based on the sheer number of folks who are involved in this thing, this SLC thing, that the FBI is knee deep in it already, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, Cervix Hammer, I don't trust the plan. I never have, and there's just a lot of weird stuff going on. So I would certainly be paying attention to leftists and what they're saying. Not just the trans ones, but all of them, and be prepared. Best I can say.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with understanding the whole trans thing, but at the same time, don't get focused on it. You know, there is a broad threat by the trans movement. You need to be very familiar with all of it. Not the trans movement, the Marxist left, and you need to be very familiar with all of it, not just one little flag on the battlefield, because like what happens if you don't focus on the furries, you know, they might sneak up behind you and get you. All right, Watcher.
I have a bad feeling that this is our last chance to get things right and get any kind of an ending that doesn't look like the Troubles on steroids. And while I think Joe's probably correct, I'm not yet in a defeatist attitude, so push him as hard as you can. You never know what'll happen.
I think that's true. Guys, I think that somebody is going to get activated here in the next week, I mean, maybe this weekend, and I think it'll be a leftist because they already exist in this kind of spiral of insanity and violence. And I don't know what quarter of the left it's going to come from, and it most likely would be just a single actor who's just lost the plot and has watched way too many, just watched way too many hours of the Daily Wire and Tucker Carlson and all these other right-wing people who have basically, I hate to term it this, but in a certain way, the positive response on the conservative side to Charlie's, death has been kind of a reaffirmation of the correctness. Yeah, Watcher, tell me about it. It's been a reaffirmation of I think the correct position for so many on the American right. So they may see this as a victory lap and thus get activated by that. So I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't see in the coming weeks a copycat. And I don't know who the target would be, and I don't know. It could literally be somebody that's not famous. It could just be like the guy in their class who is conservative. And so to that end, I mean, people around you could be very resentful of the fact that you are upset that Charlie died. So be aware of your surroundings, be aware of the people around you. Threats are real. We can't all sit around wearing body armor all the time. We have to live our lives, but you have to keep your head on a swivel. Joe, any kind of thoughts on personal security just in the coming weeks and months?
But first, let me make one last comment on the guy who attacked the Pittsburgh station. Before they tell you he is some sort of right-wing Jason Bourne, I will tell you that a couple of weeks ago he walked into their office and attempted to file a report on something, and he was told that there was no violation of a federal crime there. So he was already known to them. He has some sort of a mental issue, but they're going to tell you he's a right-wing Jason Bourne. So, anywho, the best thing that you can do is maybe not be so out there in your public-facing persona. I don't mean temper your speech. I mean, don't drive around with stickers on your car because they're a coward. They want to attack you, but you might come out and have 4 flat tires and some smashed windows. Maybe just look at the indicators that you are putting out. Keep going to church. And the biggest and best thing you can do right now for safety and security is organize with like-minded people. Develop a network of folks you can talk to, call for help, and band together with as things go bad. Pay attention to your surroundings 100%. I'm not saying this to downpour Irina, but don't be the girl on the train. Don't be so engrossed in your phone that you're not paying attention to what is going on around you. The best thing you can do for your situational awareness in these trying times is put the phone in your pocket and leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. The best way I think we can all honor her memory is by essentially learning for her final mistake. Nobody lived a perfect life, and she clearly made mistakes in her life. And the final mistake she made was to not keep her head on a swivel, to not assess the situation. Just you don't even have to sit there for 5 seconds and scan just a beat. Look up, look around, see where the empty seats are. If you have a seat next to somebody that you don't know or you don't feel comfortable with, then just look for another place to go. And a quick scan of your environment can give you that. Live in the moment and understand your environment.
It's Squishy Hunter. My gray man look today is not 511 tactical pants. Mine are Under Armour Storm pants, for the record. All right. 511s were yesterday.
I mean, I've got my cut off.
Yeah, you're the gray man. Wow, you vanish in a crowd. Now, I always like when people say you're not being a very gray man. I'm like, but I'm not trying to be. If I wanted to be, I would, but I'm not trying to be.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. You don't have to. I can't be a gray man in South Korea. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it's not going to work. Not going to
work. All right, guys, that's all we got for today. Thank you very much for being here, Joe. Appreciate you and everything you bring to the discussion. Watcher, thank you very much. I know you're on the phone now, so you got things to do.
Oh, I've been back for a while.
Okay. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notification. Like the video; it's free. Both subscribing and liking are free. Appreciate you guys who have gifted subs and have donated via super chats. Appreciate that support. We will be back on Friday. Forget about domestic Fridays. I mean, it's just until the fucking situation clears up significantly, it will continue to have a serious domestic focus to the show because conflict is coming close to home. This is something we've been talking about for a long time. So like I said, keep your head on a swivel, live in the moment, put your phone down, learn from Irina's mistake, and honor her in that way. The last thing we need is for any of you guys to become like her. All right, guys, that's all I got. We'll be back on Friday. As always, stay safe.